Welcome to the Experience Darden podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. So on this episode of the podcast, I'd like to feature a conversation I recently recorded with Jeff McNish. Jeff is Assistant Dean for our Career Development Center, and he and I recently sat down to talk a little bit more about his background and what brought him to Darden, how the Career Development Center team supports students in their career goals, as well as the recent employment report for our classes of 2018 and 2019. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Jeff McNish. Jeff, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Brett. It's great to be here.
All right. So we kind of start off with the same question for everybody that comes on the podcast. What's your background? What did you do before you came to Darden?
As I get older, it's harder and harder to answer. At least the answer gets longer. But I've been with Darden for the last couple years, and I think this upcoming year it'll be my 6th year working with graduate business students in a career management space. This is the job that I've always wanted to have, and I think the career that I had prior to working with MBA students to help them find their dream jobs really set me up for success. I started my higher education career in MBA admissions, so I really believe that set me up for a perspective unlike any other career center leader, in that I understand what prospective students are looking for and what students want to achieve when they come to business school. So I spent about 5 years in MBA admissions, and prior to that, I was in industry, working in the consulting in the automotive industry, doing supply chain management type work. And how I got into the whole higher ed space was that I was doing service projects for the firms that I worked for. And one of those service projects was coming back to campus and being on recruiting teams to hire students. And I was back on campus so much at my MBA alma mater that the dean said, "Hey, why don't you come back and join us?" Prior to business school, I worked in the automotive industry and in the consulting industry. And the last thing I'll say that's kind of ironic on my career is that when I was an undergrad student, my dream job was to work in the public sector. And lo and behold, here I am working at a public university. So I think it's come full circle, and I think that my background has really set me up for success.
So you mentioned that helping students with their career search and finding that job that they've dreamed about is really a dream job for you. What is it that connects you so passionately to the work that you do?
The best part of the job, and this is really the best part of the job, is that when we run into a student in the hallway, or a student comes into our office, or we get an email and that student says, "I got my job. I got the job. I got the position." We work real closely with students and know where they want to go. Help them try to get there, and through that interaction, we know that a student is interviewing for a job at this company or is waiting to hear from that company. And the minute that student communicates with us, either in person or over the phone, and says, "I got the job," that's where the reward and recognition comes in. That's the work that we do. That's what we strive to hear and achieve. And one of the best parts about working at Darden is we get to hear that all the time.
Yeah, y'all have such a student-centered approach, and reminded of something that Casey Floyd said in a blog post that we ran not so long ago about the start of on-grounds interviewing for summer internships for our first-year students. And she remarked that recruiting here or career support here is a team sport. And that there's really a broad group of people that support students. So not just you, but all the great people that work the Career Development Center. So talk a little bit more about the team.
Yes, I am blessed to have probably one of the best resourced career centers of business schools. We have a very talented group of employer professionals, employee relations professionals who work to create as many opportunities for Darden students as we can. They give them a world-class experience when they show up here. We believe that that's important because if the employers feel like they're taken care of while they're on grounds, they're going to give our students a great interview experience. And a great interview experience, in my opinion, leads to great performance with the students, so that the students can shine in the interview, and hopefully that leads to the outcome of an offer. Getting our students prepared, we have 8 career advisors who span across multiple disciplines, from the social industries like government, nonprofit, all the way up through investment banking, private equity, venture capital. And we have these 8 people are very passionate about working with students. They're very versed in their industries. They know what it takes. But most importantly, they spend a lot of time thinking about how to connect our students with alumni to really help the student understand the job, the role that they're pursuing, so that they can best be prepared to leverage the Darden experience and do well in the internship. So I really think that the team between the employer team and the team that works getting students prepared, our career coaches, those 2 teams are really set to help create a successful experience here.
So when you think about, if you had to summarize the philosophy, I realize this is a very broad question, but if you had to summarize the philosophy for the Career Development Center team here, how do you think about supporting students, working with students?
I think it's really important for us and for the students to get to know each other. So I firmly believe in a one-on-one personal approach. Hearing the student stories, where they've been, where they want to go, allowing us to take that information and coach them, to work with them, to counsel them, to advise them on what the next steps that they should take with their Darden degree is really important. So my philosophy is very much of a personal get to know you, so that we can give you the right advice and make the right connections for you.
And that feels, at least from the admissions standpoint, that feels very much like a Darden thing, right? This is a place where, we tell prospective students, I think this is very much reality. You come here and you're not some abstraction, just a number on a spreadsheet. You're a real live person. We're taking interest in you in the classroom, and obviously in supporting you with your career goals.
And it's not just the Career Center. We have institutes like the Batten Center, the Mayo Center, our faculty. There are a number of administrators. Even the admissions team takes an interest in how our students are successful in the career front. So it goes beyond just the Career Development Center.
So a little bit of a pivot here, because I want to give you an opportunity to talk about the recent employment report that came out just in time for the holidays back in December. A lot of great information there. Obviously, really strong outcomes for the students in our class of 2018, and positive summer internship news for the class of 2019. Probably a million things you could talk about with respect to the employment report, but what are a few stories that you'd want to highlight for our listeners?
Well, the hope is that we created a report that begins to really tell the total career outcome story of the Darden experience. Some in our previous experience and in some business schools, the outcomes are really the story, and we set out to really look at not only the outcomes, but what are the other things. So beyond just the jobs that we get through on-grounds recruiting, what are the opportunities for our international students, for example? What opportunities on the entrepreneurial side of career outcomes? And I hope the report. The highlight for me was that we began the journey of telling a more complete picture. But we were really proud of the numbers. The 100% of the students who wanted an internship got an internship. We were in the low to mid 90s in terms of the class of 2018 who the class of 2018 who wanted a job had one within 90 days after graduation. And in fact, just this afternoon, I took a look at the graduates of 2019, and I think there are, per our records, only 5 students that graduated from Darden back in May who per our records are still seeking. So we had some great accomplishments. We covered, or we had students go into every major industry, which I think is telling, especially from a school our size. Banking, consulting, and tech were our big industry winners, and we have great corporate partners who hire a lot of students like Amazon, McKinsey, and Google. So I think we developed this employment report to show the full capability and the opportunities that our students have.
Yeah, I should note for those of you who are listening who want to read the employment report, you can find it online. There was a career blog post as well as a Discover Darden blog post about it. So lots of coverage, obviously a lot of great stories, and obviously tremendous outcomes for the class of 2018 to basically, have only at this point 5 students out there looking, and we're not that far removed from graduation. Is tremendous.
And we think those 5 students are looking for something very particular in a very particular geographic area. And the best part about, not just the best part about it, but the one thing to note is Darden students are supported by a lifetime of career services. So these students are working with our Alumni Career Services Center to help them achieve the goals that they've set out for themselves even after finishing the degree.
So a little bit of a different question. So you noted that consulting, tech, financial services, those were the top 3 industries for the class of 2018. What would you say to a student who's listening to this podcast and saying, well, to him or herself, I'm interested in an industry different than consulting or financial services or tech. What's the support like or the path like for a student who's interested beyond those big 3?
Sure. The point there goes to kind of how our team approach works. And this is the exact reason why we like to get to know students one-on-one, because we know that a great majority of students may not follow a traditional MBA career path, or may have a geographic preference that may take them in a completely different direction than maybe what on-grounds recruiting does. So the first thing that I would say to someone who's not following a traditional path is get to know us. We want to get to know you. We want to know what you want to do and where you want to do that. And then we will start using the resources that we have on hand, whether it's our employer database, whether it's our alumni network, whether it's contacts that we have even outside of Darden at UVA or at other business schools. Our team spends a lot of time building relationships with the MBA industry, and in that industry we meet a lot of people all the time and have the opportunity to connect students who are looking for maybe something unusual or out of the ordinary or not typical. And so that's one of the reasons why we really strive to get to know the students, that we can make those introductions in a very genuine way and in a way that can be helpful for advancing the student's career.
And it may just be my impression, but it seems like tech is on the rise with our students. Obviously with it being one of the top 3 industries, but when you say tech, there can be a lot of different types of roles and responsibilities a student can have, but it seems like it's growing.
Sure. The best example, and to highlight this, is what is tech. We hear that major industrial firms are reimagining themselves into tech. A lot of financial services firms are reimagining themselves into tech. So it's hard to nail it down, but that industry seems to be offering students a lot of great opportunities to do lots of really, really neat things. We have a lot of students who go work at Amazon, and we have students who work in their technical business units. We have students who work in their retail business units. We have students that work in their media and entertainment business units. We even have students who work in their warehousing or operations group, and it's just amazing the vast the breadth of opportunities that some of these companies can offer MBAs, Darden MBAs, to really get exposed to a lot of different pieces of the business, and really, really do well. I think tech is very rapidly becoming the MBA industry of choice. We still will always have interest in the very traditional industries like consulting and financial services, but when you look at kind of the modern day MBA, tech is gonna compete right up there with the other two.
So you and your team obviously talk to a lot of employers, and what did they tell you about why they like Darden students? Are there any particular traits or attributes they highlight? I
think there's two that come to mind. Was just looking at some feedback from employers today, and the critical thinking skills and the students' ability to communicate their critical thinking is one that Darden does very well at. And I think we bring in students with great critical thinking and communication skills, but we also give them an experience here that allows them to refine and practice. The other piece of information we get from employers is that Darden students are great at the data analytics, knowing what information they need to help solve a business problem. And we see that time and time again in the interview feedback is that we do a really nice job of the data analytics and helping students solve business problems with data and making an informed decision.
Probably doesn't hurt to have all that practice in class. Solving problems, business cases, obviously, are just problems that you're working collectively to solve. So, we've got prospective students that obviously listen to the podcast, and what would be your pitch to them? Sort of your why Darden pitch? Maybe a little bit more from a career angle and how they'd be supported, but what would you share?
I really think if you're looking for a business school that will allow you to build very tight relationships with your classmates, that those relationships you will have as you go through the job search process. If you're looking for a business school that has one of the best education experiences that you can have, combined with a great career center, Darden is the right place to go. We have relationships with pretty much every major company that hires MBA business school students or students in an MBA program. We have alumni who are incredibly passionate about coming back and helping our students, helping Darden students get opportunities. And you get to do this in a college town in a world-class place like Charlottesville. My family and I have just really enjoyed coming into this college community. The people, the university are very, very very much contribute to a very positive experience. I can't think of another business school where you have the total package, from a great education experience to a great career center to a world-class community, to spend 21 months or so living, learning, and building relationships with other students relationships that you'll have for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up the location, because I think sometimes folks look at Charlottesville and they think, oh, man, the employers are so far away. They're in New York, they're in San Francisco. Charlottesville is a smaller college town. So you and your team have a unique vantage point on that, and wanted to give you an opportunity to sort of talk a little bit more about that. So how do you think – obviously Charlottesville has a lot of benefits for our students. How do you sort of overcome some of the geographic challenges?
We are not that far away from Washington, D.C., so when you really put it into perspective, in some places, Charlottesville would be a suburb of Washington, D.C. It's real easy to get to and from, and we have employers who will visit us along their journey from North Carolina up to New York, and we're right on the way. So the location, while some may see it as a disadvantage, I don't see it as such. We've got a world-class airport people can fly in and out of very easily, and there's trains up to New York, Washington, D.C., New York, and Boston on a pretty regular basis. And taking full advantage of that allows you to get to where you need to go very, very easily.
Yeah, this is obviously a very busy season for our first-year students. And before all this, I was keeping close tabs on all the job treks that they were taking, all the exciting places they were going. I will say, nothing harder than writing a blog post about someone else's trip to San Francisco. But that also seems like something that y'all do that's pretty cool in terms of getting students in front of employers and getting them to their particular market of choice.
Yeah, I think for anyone considering an MBA career, anyone considering a career that an MBA is needed for, going and experiencing the organization or even the job is really important. And our job treks allow our students to go engage, observe, see what it's really like to do some of these jobs. So we spent some time in New York with our week on Wall Street, where 70 plus students went up to visit the banks in the fall. We did a tech trek out to San Francisco in the fall. We took a group of students to New York in December to do some more New York industries like luxury goods and some tech. We did a trek out in Seattle in December. All of these experiences allow students to really see what it's like to work in these industries and really to offer a chance to network and see what happens in real time.
Yeah, I was talking with a second-year student about her experience on the trek. She participated in Week on Wall Street and noted that when companies come for presentations and briefings, a lot of the companies see them the same, in terms of what they're talking about. But when you go and you actually are there, it gives you more context for how they might be different. And the culture comes through a little bit more, and the atmosphere comes through a little bit more. So that's sort of like the next step in the process, I imagine. Culture
is definitely a big element of that, but you also get to almost see yourself what it would be like to walk through the front doors of these companies. And I think that's really important for someone who's making an investment in themselves and then want to take that investment out of Darden and do something great at either a big company that hires MBAs all the time or even down to the smaller firms that students seek out that may be a unique experience for an MBA.
All right, so I'm going to ask you to put on your admissions hat. You're once and former admissions professional, not so far removed from that world. We talk to you on a regular basis, obviously. Really appreciate your insights as well. So what would be one piece of advice you would have for prospective students who are thinking about Darden, charting their MBA journey? What's your best admissions advice for them? I think the best advice that I would give to anybody considering an MBA is go out and really network. If you're and do it for a couple of reasons. One, network with the people that you think are in roles that you would like to do. Understand what they do on a day in and day out basis. Understand what skills they think they need to have in that job to be successful. Get to know them because that will be part of possibly your job search. So I really think, after, before, during, and even after you work on your application to business school, you should set a goal to meet as many people in the industry or industries that you're looking to go into, to really understand that business and to learn from them. And then keep in touch with those folks. Keep in touch with them as you go through your journey. Bring them into the celebration of when you get accepted to Darden. Bring them in with an update that you've moved in, and give them a copy of your Darden resume. Stay in touch with these people because you never know when they're going to be helpful, whether that's helpful in an internship search, whether it's helpful in a post-MBA job search, or whether it's helpful in some other point in time in your post-MBA career, that these connections really can mean a lot. And you can't have too many business professionals in your network. It is something that I think we could all
I'll take it, use that advice is really going out and having a very deep and a very strong pool of people that you stay in touch with on a professional level, because you never know when they could be helpful or when you could be helpful to their career. And building those relationships is really, really important.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much. I always learn something when we talk. So appreciate you taking time for the podcast.
Thanks, Brett.
And that was my conversation with Jeff McNish, Assistant Dean for our Career Development Center here at the University of Virginia Darden School of Business. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like for us to cover here on the podcast, we are all ears. We can be reached at darden@virginia.edu. And until next time, thanks for listening.